Morning, everyone. Welcome to our legislative action, our very first meeting of the Greater High Desert Chamber of Commerce, our Legislative Action Committee. So it's very good to see everybody. We had over 80 people register for our governmental or our legislative action. I'll have to get used to legislative because with Hesperia, we always call it governmental. But we're very glad. We're glad that everybody can be here, and we're just watching the numbers go up. Just a little overview of what we have been doing in the last few years, and then especially the last COVID year. So prior to Greater High Deserts, Victorville, Apple Valley, and Adelanto had already combined their governmental and legislative affairs committee. And so we met once a month, and we had usually about 25 to 30 people. We would have, the city leaders come in and speak, our mayors. We would have our elected representatives come in and speak, and a few different agencies at times. Those meetings sometimes could be an hour, hour and a half. So the goal is to keep this one to an hour. And one of the things that we have done is, if you have been attending the morning coffee break, you will notice that we have made an opportunity for our city leaders to speak at every one of those meetings. So by splitting that up a little bit, you're getting to hear from your city leaders more often. And then as we go on, we will evolve with our legislative action with the combination of all the four chambers. And so be patient with us. There's some governmental or legislative action committees that did different things in their local markets. We're not going to be taking that away from anyone, but we're going to be evolving and making sure that we still represent those communities. Another thing that Mark and I have done, especially over the last year during COVID, we became very involved with the Inland Empire Chamber Alliance. And you've probably heard us, we've reported out on this at the morning coffee. But what we do is once a month, we meet with usually about 20, I think we've been as high during some of the COVID months as 30 chambers on that call. And that has been very good as a unified voice from our region. That has been very good as a unified voice through our region to be able to have some, power as we go to Sacramento and talk about different legislation that affects our small businesses and businesses. Okay, so we'll talk about that a little bit later. Mark and I also still attend the CalChamber meetings, which gives us another resource looking at legislation that has to do with our small business and businesses. Again, like I said, we're going to be going through a transition here. We've already, let's see, we're at 56 people right now. So obviously Zoom does have its benefits. I know that probably Shannon and Rebecca and Dylan, they go, wow, this is one of our larger committees. And it also does something for all of us. It takes, 3 more meetings out of our lives in a month, because lots of times we used to have to go to 3 or 4 governmental or legislative meetings. So the combined power and force of the Greater High Desert Chambers, we're starting this month with our legislative action. And stay tuned as we evolve and make those opportunities with each of you known as they come available. So let's go ahead and move on, Mark, or who's running the PowerPoint, Mark? All right, so we're going to go ahead, we've called this meeting to order, and we're going to start off with a report. Today we'll be having legislative updates from our 4 electeds, Congressman Obernolte, Senator Wilk, Assemblyman Smith, and Supervisor Cook's offices. After each one of those, if you would like to, during the meeting, go ahead and in the chat, if you have questions, we'll be monitoring that. And once they finish their reports, then we will give them the questions that you have. So we'll be monitoring that. So anyway, Shannon Dunkel is here on behalf of Congressman Jay Obernolte. And go ahead, Shannon.
All righty, good morning, everybody. It's good to see you all. We were talking this morning, we're like, wow, I was like, right now we have 62 participants, and we're not used to this big of a crowd when we provide these updates. So this is such a great platform to reach more people who do want to hear the legislative side of things. So that's really cool. So we did play a little bit of musical chairs here. So Jay was on the assembly side. So now he is our congressman, and he was sworn in on January 3rd, and he's been hitting the ground running. So we're really excited to be here today and provide an update. First one I have for you He opposed the rules package for the House. So the House voted to adopt its rules that governs its proceedings. The Congressman opposed the rules package for two main reasons. The package restricted the rights of the minority party by gutting the motion to recommit. And what that motion did was offer amendments on legislation. And it's a right of the minority party that they've had for decades that's now been taken away. In addition to that House rules package exempted expenditures addressing the coronavirus crisis and climate change from PAYGO. And what PAYGO is a provision that requires Congress to address how it will pay for its expenditures in the long term in an effort to address the national debt. So the Congressman opposed this particular rules package because it just didn't address the national debt issue, and it's such a big issue that it did need to be addressed. So he opposed that. The Congressman did earn appointments to 3 committees. He's on the House Committee on Budget, Natural Resources, Science, Space, and Technology, which is really exciting. And lastly, most of last year, what we were talking about was trying to save the Barstow Veterans Home. And when Jay was the Assemblyman, he was a strong advocate for our veterans and wrote the language in the budget bill, which did pass to help save the Barstow Veterans Home. The CalVet had released a report a couple of weeks ago, and it's a major step forward into saving the home. So it's not completely saved, but we are making steps in the right direction. We were really excited to hear that. And that is my update. If there's any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
All right, does anybody have any questions for Shannon? All right, so far, Shannon, there are none. If something comes up, I'll ask you at the end. Thank you very much.
Yes.
All right, then we will go ahead and move on to Rebecca Tennyson from Senator Scott Wilkes' office.
Good morning, everyone. I don't know, many of you may have already heard, but Senator Wilk was elected by his caucus as the new Senate Republican leader this year, and he officially transitioned to that role on February 15th. So due to his election as leader and the responsibilities that come along with it, his committee assignments have been reduced. If you remember last year, he was vice chair of education and rules and budget, all those type of things. But this year, because he is now Senate Republican leader, so far he is on the Senate, he is on the Transportation Committee and Senate Governmental Organization Committee. So it'll be it's going to be a whole different ball game for him this year. All the senators have until tomorrow to introduce legislation. However, if you remember, they can amend their bills as they go along. So in the next few weeks, something might have been introduced in one way, and then there's a little leeway to change it. With the governor's released budget proposal last month, Senator Wilkes' main concerns and that he's working on is the prioritization of the school openings and recovery from learning loss, whereas the senator is concerned with the governor's $2 billion school plan for all. And the plan proposes for safe reopening of schools beginning in February with a priority of returning the youngest K through 12. I'm sure you guys probably have heard all the school stuff. I don't know if you want me to spend time on that. Anyway, so that's a big issue in the budget. Whereas, let me move down to small businesses. So in the budget as well, helping small businesses that were forced to close. Senator Wilk joined a bipartisan coalition of legislators in introducing Senate Bill 74, which would dedicate $2.6 billion for small businesses grants to jumpstart the economy again. Whereas the governor's budget is only proposing $575 million for small business grants. So they're working hard to get more money into that program, where, as you guys know, we were probably hit the hardest. Also in reforming state law that has allowed for the closures of industries without abiding by the latest scientific information. So what is Pat Orr saying? Does Wilk have a plan? I can't read the question, it's only on there for 2 seconds. Reforming the Employment Development Department. So Senator Wilk has also introduced Senate Bill 58, which will protect Californians' Social Security information in EDD's most mailed documents. As you know, the whole EDD program is a fiasco. It's just an unprecedented disaster right now. Senator Wilk will also be co-authoring legislation to strengthen measures to prevent the fraud, including those from in-state prisons. More people in state prisons received unemployment than our constituents down the street. So also in that reform, Senator Wilk will also be co-authoring legislation to review California's contract with Bank of America and provide for opportunities for direct deposit as opposed to relying on Bank of America accounts and debit cards. I don't know if you all follow the news on all that, but B of A has the contract for all the EDD debit cards, and that as well has been a huge multi-billion-dollar disaster affecting many people that are out of work. Senator Wilkes has also been pressuring the administration to help victims of EDD fraud, and how will that will now have tax liabilities for benefits which they did not claim. So all that fraud we were talking about, the fraudulent names or addresses that were used are now getting 1099s, and that's to pay taxes on that money that they never received. And so that's a whole new disaster coming down the road. So Senator Wilkes getting ahead of that. Senator Wilk is also looking into sponsoring or co-sponsoring legislation to help. So on his personal level, he's co-sponsoring legislation to help foster youth and the developmentally disabled. Senator is also co-authoring legislation to increase broadband access, as COVID has exacerbated issues with the digital divide. So there's lots of little things that have come out of this pandemic that need attention to. The senator is also looking into legislation to force school districts to allow parents to hold pupils back a school year if they believe that their child received inadequate education. The senator will introduce legislation to continue to support our local aerospace industry and to continue help develop the hemp industry. Senator Wilk co-authored the Let Them Play resolution, which demands that the governor allow for youth sports to resume. Senator Wilk has co-authored Senator Melendez's SCR 5, which seeks to end California's state of emergency and limit the emergency powers of Governor Gavin Newsom. A few things that we're watching this year that are very hot topics is
Rebecca, you're muted. Rebecca, you're muted.
So without going into a lot of detail on all the school reopenings, because that information changes day by day and county by county, and we're hearing a lot about that. That's what I have for today.
Okay, there is one question from Pat Orr. It said, he asked, is there a plan to assist workers and companies who will lose their income when fracking is banned by 2027?
I don't know. That's why that's being watched and addressed. So that's probably one of the larger parts of that, of the when those dominoes fall. So what did he mean? Like reallocation of work, or a specific unemployment option?
Pat, do you want to clarify that?
It's
Mark,
just,
can you
it's
can you
just at the
unmute Pat?
beginning. It's at the beginning stages, so I was just giving you a heads up that we'll be watching that. But
Okay. All right.
Okay,
Okay,
I'm
Pat.
sorry. I finally got unmuted. No, they continue to pass bills both locally and state level and federally that cost people jobs and companies robs them of their income. And I just wondered if there was a plan to get a 50-year-old oil field worker in Santa Clarita or someplace like that retrained, or just give them an income for life, because these environmental goals seem very laudable until you realize that you're just putting more people on the welfare line. So that's one comment. The other one you couldn't read is, I wonder if there's a new Senate bill to ensure that all future elections in California are mail-in ballots to all registered voters. Does Senator Wilkes' caucus have a plan to oppose that or seek litigation?
I don't know where they're at on that right now, but if you have a bill number, I can look that up for the next time.
Okay, I'll look it up.
All right, great.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions for Rebecca? So Rebecca, you want to give like a 1-minute update of what your last year has looked like and all the calls? And I know you and I had a discussion on what you've been doing at your desk and a little bit of the craziness you want to give it. I'm pretty sure Shannon Dunkel probably has the same report out, maybe even Kim and Dylan, but you want to give like a 1-minute update to what your last year's looked like?
Sure. Well, it's a whole different landscape than what our duties were. So before, our duties were being out in the community. Most of it was celebratory. We're in a developing area in this high desert, so you all know it was lots of groundbreakings and ribbon cuttings and award ceremonies and all those type of things. And we would also have, at the same time, we'd have a few cases of casework a day or a week, helping assist people with that are having trouble navigating state departments. Since COVID began, we're probably 10 hours a day casework. And it's just changed with how the pandemic changed. With first it was small businesses and the closures and.
Whoop, you're muted again, Rebecca.
Areas, since their business was closed, everything that they were asking for help on was from departments that didn't even exist the week before. So it was quite challenging. This last 6 months, I've probably been a 10-hour-a-day EDD agent, and that sums it up.
Right. I just wanted you to share that with everybody, because I know when I had talked with you, it was definitely a new challenge and a new role for you guys, and we certainly appreciate all you've done. Dylan,
I thought 2021 was going to be different, but we woke up to the new year with 1.5 million people unemployment benefits froze and no way to get help. And so it's kind of, I call it Groundhog Year. It's kind of like spring of 2020 all over again, only worse.
Ugh. Well, again, we appreciate all you guys have done. I know it's been a challenge for everybody. Dylan gave the bill number. He believes it's SB 29, Rebecca.
Mm-hmm.
If everybody will look at the chat, and he gave a link, so maybe you and Pat can connect offline on that one.
Gotcha.
All right, any other questions for Rebecca? All right, thank you again. And we will go ahead and move on to Dylan Lasowski, Assemblyman Thurston Smitty Smith. And it is good to have you back, Dylan. We've missed you. We've missed you for a few years.
I know, it's good to be back. There's a lot of people on the call. I got to be careful with what I say. So, well, anyway, good morning, everyone. So I am Thurston Smitty Smith's Chief of Staff. He was just elected in November, was sworn into office in December. So we're just kind of getting started up and running with a team, with legislation and all of the above. So we're excited to be doing that. Obviously, our number one issue, we kind of mimic what Rebecca Tennyson and Senator Wilk are doing, as well as number one issue is reopening the state. There's been a lot of frustration both on the Assembly side and the Senate side with Governor Newsom and making a lot of unilateral rules that really prohibit any involvement with the legislature. So we're just kind of sitting here looking at the same press releases that every other news agency and constituent is looking at, thinking, well, what the heck is going on here? So Smitty's been a big advocate with the Let Them Play movement. So he is a co-sponsor of that resolution as well. There was a rally on Saturday that he went to in Apple Valley with the wind and all of that good stuff. SB 74, he's a co-sponsor of that, which invests 10% of California's budget projected surplus. What happened with the budget is that the Department of Finance actually gave inaccurate projections because some of the high net worth individuals in California have really kept our revenues pretty similar to where they were before. So we really didn't have the hit that was anticipated. So 10% of that funding, what we're proposing is to invest $2.6 billion into small business grants that were affected by COVID-19. There was a lot of support behind that. There was actually 63 different legislators, both Democrats and Republicans, out of the 120. So over half of the legislative bodies, both in the Assembly and the Senate, were supportive of this. And yesterday afternoon, Governor Newsom's office sent out a press release essentially copying the same exact thing. Instead of $2.6 billion, it's $2.1 billion in the same exact funding. We have not seen the exact language on what that looks like yet. So we don't have a position on whether we support it or oppose it. It's most likely we're going to support it, seeing that it's pretty much the same thing. But again, we haven't seen the language. So we will wait and see. The devil in the details, right? Is also a co-sponsor of AB 76, which is requiring schools to offer in-person instruction to get our kids back in the classrooms. Last Friday, there was supposed to be an announcement about it. And then here we are a week later, still not really anything from Governor Newsom's office. There's probably going to be something this week, but they also told us that last week as well. So we'll hurry up and see what happens. COVID response. California has been one of the lower end states in terms of vaccine distribution that's been utilized. So Smitty and his Republican colleagues sent a letter to Governor Newsom's office and to the Speaker's office to establish oversight hearings to essentially allow more transparency to understand how the COVID-19 data is being utilized. As of right now, Governor Newsom's office has basically said, well, it's very complex to allow ordinary Californians to understand how the vaccine rollout is actually happening. So it's been a struggle up here, needless to say. Anyway, EDD, I know Rebecca touched on that. There's some similar bills to what the Senate and both the Assembly are doing with different numbers. Smitty's bill is AB 8. That was actually his first bill that he's introduced. And that's going to allow recipients of UI, so unemployment insurance benefits, to receive their money via direct deposit instead of those Bank of America debit cards, which has really been one of the larger problems with EDD and our issues a lot of constituents are having here in the 33rd district. So right now, as of about a week ago, there's 943,000 unresolved claims. And there's about 1.4 million claims that are essentially deadlocked because they could be fraudulent, they could not be fraudulent. And they also the EDD can't necessarily tell us how much fraud was involved with it because they don't actually know themselves, but it's estimated it could be up to 31 billion. But right now it's like 9.8 billion is where they're at so far. So it's pretty wild out there. And then in terms of committees as well. So Smitty's going to be the vice chair of environmental safety and toxic materials, which is something he's very excited about. It's very relevant to a lot of the issues that we have in the Mojave Desert in regards to, and also manufacturing, things of that nature. A lot of the conversations too that they're talking about is putting more regulations on packaging and plastic and stuff like that. So he's going to be pretty involved in those types of conversations as well. He's on the budget committee. Within the budget committee, he's on two different subcommittees. One has to deal with energy and transportation, which is really exciting. Getting more funds for roads and freeways and such is a big push for us here in our area. And then he's also on the subcommittee for budget process oversight and program evaluation. He's going to be on governmental organization committee, jobs, economic development and the economy, military and veterans affairs. That's another big one that we're excited about, as well as water, parks and wildlife. So some of the other information I have is relatively redundant from what Rebecca was saying. Again, we kind of mimic the same thing the Senate and the Assembly does. So if there's any questions, feel free to reach out.
All right, thank you, Dylan. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, with that, then we will move on to Supervisor Paul Cook, Kim Messon.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be on here today. So I am Supervisor Cook's District Director, and we do have a minor update for you all. So kind of to cover COVID, since COVID is the biggest thing that the county has been tackling at the moment. The county, as far as COVID compliant businesses, has taken an informational approach. No business has had to pay a fine to the county of San Bernardino. So that is something that we're pretty proud of. However, we do want to clarify that that does not mean that the state itself has not taken any other action. I'm sure a lot of you have seen that a few weeks ago, ABC showed up to a few businesses. However, as a county ourselves, we have not made any businesses pay fines. There are 3 vaccine sites up in the high desert now: Hook Community Center, Hesperia Health Center, and Providence St. Mary Medical Center. And we're hoping to possibly expand that as well. The county is also looking into mobile sites into other community areas. Over 5,000 teachers have been vaccinated by the county of San Bernardino. The supervisor has strongly supported for teachers who plan on going back to teaching immediately to get vaccinated. And we have had 11 school districts within the first district participate. So we're very proud of that number. A few of them were Apple Valley Unified, Hesperia Unified, Hellendale, Snowline, Oro Grande, Barstow, Silver Valley. So 11 is a pretty big number, especially because things have been changing as far as timeline goes. The county has also acquired 5,000 Chromebook laptops to assist with distant learning. This was a partnership with the county superintendent of schools. And a few of those went out to Oro Grande, Silver Valley USD, and the Lewis Center as well. Something non-COVID related that's in the work right now with the county, they're looking at implementing a drone task force that would help the fire department, public works, public health. They're looking into seeing how they can possibly respond to calls or just look into items through a drone task force. It's still in the works. They do have to look into FFA regulations, and they've met once a few months ago and are going to meet again in March just to see how this would be implemented and if it's something that they can do moving forward, and if so, how they would do it. But that's the update that I have on our behalf. If anyone has any questions for me, please feel free to reach out. We are back in our Apple Valley office where we had our congressional office before. So if you're familiar and want to stop by, you're more than welcome to.
Thanks, Kim. Appreciate that. So we've got a question really for all 4 of you or whoever would like to answer it. This is from Neeru Bengala. It says, question for all. Is there any bill for apartment owners for some relief we are not able to collect rent or evict, but still have an obligation to pay the loan? Opening that up to anybody who might have an answer.
There is, I believe they extended it until the end of March. I will get you the number though. Give me a few minutes. I'll put it in the chat.
All right, thanks, Dylan. We also have a comment from Stephanie that says she got her shot yesterday as a teacher. Thanks to the county for the great organization. It was very smooth. So I do know, and Kim, you can confirm or this, I know that San Bernardino has rocked it for shots. At one point, they were at 85% of getting shots out there where other counties were not even on the radar. So hands off to the county for that. And if you've gone by any of these centers, they're moving people through. So that's very positive.
Thank you.
Okay. There was one other question I was going to ask, but it left my mind. Does anybody else have any other questions for Kim? All right, if you do, just throw it in the chat and we can circle back around to it. So With that, we're going to move on to what I talked a little bit about in the beginning, which is the Inland Empire Chamber Alliance. As I mentioned, as we hit March, well, gosh, we're almost a year. And when we hit March last year, Mark and I, Zoom was not new to all of us, but it certainly wasn't a daily piece of our lives. And one thing that we watched as we started attending the Inland Empire Chamber Alliance meetings is we met weekly for a while, because I think the mantra of each of the chambers was, we got to keep our eyes open and make sure what legislation is going on so that nothing gets snuck through while we're not looking because we're worried about COVID. And secondly, how do we help our small businesses? And they were able to share resources that Mark then turned around and made available. If you remember in the early days and months, boy, there was no shortage of how to get the PPP loans, any of the different things that were available to small businesses. So, between Mark and then the resources we had there, it was a very good thing. It was also good, I think, to see the same struggles that each chamber was. You got to remember, a chamber is a business that helps businesses. And so to hear that the other chambers were having the same struggles and everything, and brainstorm on those, it's been a very good resource for us. We had a meeting last month, and we do sign on to legislation. Everything that we had last month, it was just getting started, so there was only 3 bills. And the process that we go through when we attend these meetings is we reach out to our elected representatives and see what they are, what their take is on what we will be discussing at these meetings. And we did support AB 25, which is a worker classification, employees and independent contractors. I believe, Dylan, this is another one that Smitty was a co-sponsor on. Is that correct? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
We also supported AB 62, income tax credits and cost to comply with COVID-19 regulations. We did support that. And then both Dylan and I believe Rebecca did discuss SB 74, which obviously Senator Wilk is a co-sponsor, or I don't know if he introduced it, but I know Smitty is also on the Assembly side and he supported that one too. So we only had 3 last month, but that was, kind of what we do. We spend about an hour in these meetings and go through things and have different sponsors. Another thing that came up, be very glad that we live in the high desert. I had talked about this just briefly, and Marshall and Ryan would know more about it, is the businesses down with AQMD down the hill. Whoa, trucks coming in and stuff. The fees that they will be, it was kind of interesting because when they started, I went, uh-oh, and then they said, this excludes the high desert, and I said, oh, okay. So I was listening, but I was at least happy for us. And like I said, I don't know if Ryan or Marshall want to jump on, but we did spend a fair amount of time discussing that and the fee, which is really prohibitive for trucks that will be going into those industrial areas that they will be charged, which obviously will cost it'll trickle down. All of us will pay more for the things that are brought in. So those are some of the things we do at Inland Empire Chamber Alliance. So behind the scenes, we are working for each small business. Looks like we have a couple of comments. Go ahead and look at your chats. Kim said that, glad to hear, Clinton, off the top of my head, I don't know where the timeline for the finance industry is, but I will check that for you. Do not know that the county has changed their timeline as the state has made changes, so it is possible. That's for indoor dining, so not anything on that yet. They will be later on the phases since some were moved up in the phases. And then Casey said, Kim, do you know when they will be awarding the grants, the COVID relief grants?
So Casey, I know that some money, a good chunk of money actually was awarded not too long ago to the county, and they were supposed to decide. There was federal funds and state funds. However, there was specific restrictions that were tied to the state funds. So the county had to decide whether they were going to take both or just one pot. It's to my understanding that the county had to make a decision within, I believe it was the past few days. So I will touch base to see whether they decided on just the federal funds and when that would be going out to the different businesses and nonprofits to help with COVID relief. because I believe there's also a few income relief and like apartment relief that's going to be with that for rental assistance. So I will check in on that and get back to you.
Kim, looks like there's just some good experiences with shots again, but we are still in, what is it, phase B or whatever it is. There was a question on here, when will individuals in the finance industry be able to get shots?
So I don't know where exactly they are in the phase timeline, and I'll double check on that. The phase timeline has changed as we've rolled out the COVID vaccines, just because the state has also made changes. I know when we started vaccinating 65 and older, that was moved up in the phase, as well as with teachers. So it is possible that they are going to be further down in the timeline, but I will double check to see where exactly they fall.
Okay, all right, great. Was there any more questions for any of our elected representatives, field reps? Okay, is there anything on the Inland Empire Chamber Alliance that you guys have questions on? All right, then we will move to Mark, and he's going to talk about the California Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you so much, Shannon. The California Chamber of Commerce, we have legislative action calls that usually take place every Thursday. On that call is usually 50 or 60 chambers of commerce from all over California. We've only met twice since the beginning of the year, but starting in March, we'll actually be meeting every Thursday, I believe, through June. So there'll be a lot more information to talk about. Shannon did mention AB 62, AB 25, and AB 74 that the Greater High Desert Chamber did sign on letters to support. There's a few things that we signed on to as well. I don't believe that it currently affects the county up here. It's really creeped up in San Bernardino County yet, but there are at least 16 cities and or counties who are presently considering a $3, $4, or $5 per hour increase for all grocery workers who work for companies of a certain size. The California Chamber of Commerce and many organizations, including us, oppose this proposal to mandate this across the board increase to grocery workers and drugstore workers' hourly pay. Again, that's just something we're currently monitoring, and more information if that kind of comes our way. But because we support a lot of bills, and we like to show our support, even if it's not necessarily something that's currently affecting our county. Something else, just real briefly, that came up, that just came out yesterday, and I'm doing some more research on, and I'm sure it'll come up at our next ledge action call. But the California Chamber of Commerce is opposing a proposal to impose a new COVID-19 leave mandate on employers unless the state is willing to pay for the cost of the leave. If anyone has wants more information about this, you can put your name in the chat box, and I can email you specifically what I got from the CalChamber. But that's really all I have, Shannon. I was going to talk a little bit more on the bills that you had mentioned. You and I will have to coordinate our scripts next time. I forgot that we had already approved those through the Inland Empire Chamber Alliance. So that's all I have, but I'm sure next month, once our ledge action calls are every Thursday, I'm sure I'll definitely have a lot more to talk about in next month's ledge action committee.
All right, thank you. Is there, let's see, is there any, let's see, Dylan had a remark here that Assemblyman Smith is also opposing. We talked to CalChamber yesterday afternoon. So same thing as we did. I think one thing that does show, Mark, is we're not just listening to one organization when we're involved. We are talking to our elected representatives. We are talking to CalChamber, and we are also getting information from Inland Empire Chamber Alliance. And then we are listening to the questions that you guys have as small businesses. So what we want to make sure, if there is something that is hitting your radar, please email Mark. Let us take a look at it. We may already have resources on it, and we'll be able to work with you and be that resource for you. Obviously, we've got, Dylan, Shannon, Rebecca, and Kim on here. You can reach out to any of them. Other than that, is there any further questions? Does anybody wants to throw into the chat? Okay, if we do not, then what I would say is this format worked very well. Like I said, please turn into the Friday morning coffee breaks, and you get very detailed updates from your city. and then we will change up these legislative action and have different report outs too. It does make it nice for us in this format to give our different representatives the time to speak and talk to us and field questions. Sometimes it's a little hard to pull everything in unless you guys have time for a 2-hour meeting. And I'm seeing a lot of people go no. So anyway, if there's no further questions, we want to thank you for joining us this morning. Our next Ledge Action Committee meeting will be on March 18th, and we will see you there.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. We'll see you all soon.
Have a great day.